Oh, come behold the works of God, the nations at his feet.
Welcome to Calvary Chapel Corinth with Senior Pastor Charlie Villard. Our desire is to comfort those in any affliction with the comfort by which we ourselves have been comforted by God. We are blessed to have you join us today as we dig into God's Word, chapter by chapter, verse by verse.
We've been working our way through the book of Psalms. I've said it a few times. Psalm 41, at the end of that, we'll end the first book of the Psalms. It's been a long journey through the Psalms because, sometimes I find them grueling. And it's not because I don't respect the word. It's just because reading them, it trudges up a lot of stuff, right? And sometimes they're just what your heart needs. Other times it digs up things that you thought were dead and gone. And then, you have to go to God and get healed of them. So my plan is when we get to in Psalm 41, we'll move to something else. It's the book of Romans currently. Probably change again. But in the meantime, a couple of things that we did that kind of were really fun was to take a few of the Psalms and then go back through David's life. And so we started, when David was, a young boy, to David and Goliath, through him being chased as king. And it was really awesome because we got a chance to look at where he was when he wrote the psalm and kind of match a couple of those psalms back up. My intention in this psalm is to do something a little similar. I don't know how long. Maybe it's just today. Maybe it takes a couple of weeks. But in this particular Psalm 37, David's an old man, and he's looking back on his and reflecting on his life, right? And this is after the, David and Bathsheba incident, which was, to me, one of the most heartbreaking sections of Scripture. And, and David's wanting to impart wisdom to us all. So I want us to think about that as we read through it. But I think we'll take a little venture off into faith and, kind of what that is. And, we know that the Lord Jesus told us in the Gospels that faith is what pleases God. Our trust in Him through all circumstances is what pleases God. We talked about it not this last Thursday, but the one before. We were in Micah 6:8, talking about the functions of the Christian and pleasing God. And sometimes we like to think what we're doing pleases God, but do we really know it is, right? Are we just doing things, in your marriage, for example, right? You're trying to do things that please your wife, but what you're doing, does it please your wife? As a husband, are you pleased by what she does? She may be giving it all and doesn't realize it's not the things that pleases you. That's not a sexual reference. It's a completely, functional reference, like love languages, right? If my wife, my love language is probably hugs, physical touch, interaction, and her love language is like servanthood, right? Doing actions. So she may do those things for me, and I don't really receive that as love because it's not what I'm used to, right? But she's giving everything because that's what she thinks it is. And you start to have these, go do the love language test. It's pretty cool because you might realize is that the way you're trying to love doesn't please the person the way you would hope it does. And, and I thought about that while I was in Florida a lot. Just do I please God? And the things that I'm doing, does God look at those and go, yeah, you know what, I'm pleasing to me. You're trusting me, you have faith, or those kinds of things. So, in that made me think a lot about, as I go through my life, I don't want to do something for 30 years and it having never pleased God. Get to heaven and go, oh, that was a waste. I wish I had known that. And so we talked a little bit about that Thursday. And in this, as we go through this psalm and we talk a little bit about faith, think about our lives are supposed to reflect the love of God, right? To others, in relationships, in our marriages, in our lives, to others we work with, things like that. And at the same time, the wisdom that David's trying to leave for us, think of it like talking to a 90-year-old, grandparent on their deathbed, right? They are trying at that moment to leave you with everything they can so that you might take something and not have a hard life like they might have lived. So Psalm 37, verse 1, we'll read through it, and like I said, that clock is, I don't have my watch. Without a clock, we're going to be in trouble because it'll be 2 in the afternoon and I'll still be going and you guys will be like, are you going to stop ever? Verse 1, do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as a light, and your justice as the noonday. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way. Because excuse me. Because of the man who brings wicked schemes to pass, cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret. It only causes harm. For evildoers shall be cut off, but for those who wait on the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall be no more. Indeed, you will look carefully for his place, but it shall be no more. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plots against the just, and gnashes at him with his teeth. The Lord laughs at him, for he sees that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn the sword, and have bent the bow, to cast down to the poor and needy, to slay those who are of upright conduct. Their sword shall enter their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous has is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous. The Lord knows that the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of the famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord, like the splendors of meadows, shall vanish. Into the smoke they shall vanish away. The wicked borrows and does not repay, but the righteous shows mercy and gives. For those blessed by him shall inherit the earth, and those cursed by him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. Though he fall and shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. I have been young, but now I am old. Yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his descendants begging bread. He is merciful and lends, and his descendants are blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loves justice and does not forsake the saints. They are preserved forever, but the descendants of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell in it forever. The mouth of the righteous speaks wisdom, and his tongue talks of justice. The law of God in his heart, none of his steps. The law of his God is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watches the righteous and seeks to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, keep his way, and he shall exalt you to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, you shall see it. I've seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a native green tree. Yet he passed away, and behold, he was no more. Indeed, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the blameless man and observe the upright, for the future of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together, the future of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is in their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help him and deliver him. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them. Because, why? They trust in him. So, man, as I read that, I'm like, I got my whole plan of where I'm going to go. And then the Lord's like, hey, why don't you mentioned something, why don't you go back to that? So there is a particular psalm that is strictly about that, but I kind of want to now jump back into part of David's story and read some of that. It doesn't directly line up, but anyway, I'm just sort of rambling as I'm trying to work this out in my head. I probably should just move to that and be quiet. So verse 1, do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity. So ideally, right, our process, what makes us distinct, really, every church could do it and should do it, is ultimately that we do verse by verse, right? We read a verse, break it down, read a verse, break it down. We move throughout the scriptures and work our way through the whole entire Bible at some point. So do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity. This made me think about, do not fret, is do not worry. God tells us that. Do not worry about something. Be strong and be courageous. I heard it said there's 365 of them, one for each day of the year if you were to read it. God's reminder every day to us to not worry, don't fret over things. And especially what he says, because of evildoers. And I find that I'm looking for like a bookmark. I find that we do this a lot. Maybe not in the ways that we think, right? Sadly, I don't spend much time watching the news. When I don't spend much time worrying about what other people are doing, I probably should. It doesn't mean I don't go vote, doesn't mean I don't understand what everything is going on. I try to spend most of my time trusting that whatever's going on in the world is God's doing. If I trust God and God says everything that happens is under my sight, then I say, God, what do you want me to look at? Do you want me to be involved in politics? Nope, I'm not smart enough. I can't lie good enough. I can probably lie good enough, I suppose, but I don't think politics is for me. So I go, Lord, what do you want me to do? He's like, I want you to study my word. I want you to be with the people that I've sent you with. I want you to love them. I want you to pour into them. That's what I want you to do. So I know what evil's going on in the world. I came out of the world, much like all of us. But I don't spend a lot of time worrying about what's going on. However, the second part of this psalm sort of fits me perfectly. Because he says what? Don't be envious of the workers of iniquity. And I thought, I'm not envious of some terrorist. I'm not envious of, some politician. Like, I don't sit around and think about that. But I'm an envious person. And I didn't really consider it until I started to study. It's not like I've never come across this. Don't get me wrong. When I was in school, I looked at the cool kid because I was not the cool kid. I was the exact opposite. We had this conversation back a while ago where I said, guys, we should behave in a certain way, right? No dude should selfie on Facebook. Don't take your shirt off. Don't selfie, right? If you're going to selfie anything, selfie with your wife because she's the prettier one. She's the better one. She's the one that, if anything, because if you're doing that, you're what? You're probably digging for attention. I wasn't the cool kid. I wasn't the good-looking kid. I didn't have all the awesome stuff. I had a great family. I had everything I ever wanted. I was blessed. But I was envious of the popular kid, right? Because they got attention. The girls liked, this particular boy. I don't have one in mind. There's many, but, pick someone, right? Pick someone in your own life. You're in school. There was someone you looked at and you were envious of. They were either more handsome or maybe more athletic, or they were prettier, or they wore less clothing and boys liked them. No matter how it was, I was envious. I went, that's who I want to be. I want to be that person. I want to be the cool kid that gets all the attention from people. I do that today. I can still be I can be envious of the hard worker at work. I can look and go, man, that guy's moving way faster than me. I've said it before. I'm envious of other pastors. I'm an ant among giants when it comes to this Calvary movement. We were the 21st church plant, and there's been 5 or 6 since, and that's only been a couple of years. But I sat for 12 years, much to my embarrassment saying this, but I sat for 12 years looking at everyone that would come in and out of the program, envious of how God's worked in their lives. That song, Egypt, that's my song. I love that song. Lived in California for years and trying to get out of that. God was working his way through Exodus with me. And that's what he was doing, was bringing me out of Egypt, bringing me back to the land of my fathers. Little did I know he was doing that for a purpose, right? I was just going. I just wanted to learn under Pastor Ken. I just wanted to be trained. I wanted to have the authority over the word that he would have, which I'll never have. Just be clear. I can't even read the King James because it would sound dumb. I'd be like, blah, 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 and he's hammering it out, right? I'm like, I want to be like that. Envious, even of my pastor. And every time someone would come in and go plant a church, I'd be like, when is my turn? Lord, that's all I want to do. I just want to serve you. In that capacity, I'm telling the Lord, like somehow I've got some sort of skill, right? I thought that I'd go to the school of ministry and we'd move off somewhere and I'd be traveling the world speaking to millions, right? And you'd be like, accept the Lord Jesus, and they'd all cheer, and then they'd come running forward. Like, I'm in Corinth, Maine. It's like 2,000 people. And you guys have come. Well, not for me, right? For the Lord. I had to go through this whole process to weed out all that, and I'm still guilty of it. I still look around and be like, oh man, those guys in Portland, you see their building? Oh, it's so sweet. Wish we got a building. And the Lord's like, hey, you want a building? You want all that response? Okay. And then I stand in there going, oh, this is a massive weight of responsibility. What was I thinking, Lord? What is my problem? Why am I so envious? Right? Maybe you look at another wife and you go, they got 7 kids. She's skinny. She stayed in shape. She looks like she loves her husband. She does all this stuff. That's envy. Whether you think so or not, it rots you. Because what you're doing is saying, I should be like that. No, you should be the way that God made you, right? God made you. He loves you. You're beautiful to him. You're handsome to him. It's kind of weird, but right? But that's the Lord's made me. I mean, he doesn't go, look, I made you round. It's not the way he made me. I should probably be in better shape. But I could look at another husband and go, man, look at that dude. He's got it all going on. He's got like 5 cars. He's got a cool house. He attends church. He's got it all going, right? And then I'm just envying. We are all envious. If we look and be honest, I mean, maybe you got it beat. Maybe it's not just me. But, you look at somebody and you compare yourself. And then it just erodes what God does, right? So it takes away from what God's done in your life because you have a testimony to share. God will use you. Nor be envious of the workers of iniquity. And if we look at that last piece, right, he's not saying be envious of the righteous, right? You're being envious of people that are really probably not believers, that are not doing it the way that God would call. Right? If you're looking at yourself and comparing yourself to another Christian, again, you should still not do that, right? But there is a part of discipleship that someone brings you alongside of them and they say, like Paul, walk with me as I walk with Christ. I'll bring you up and disciple you in the ways of Christ. I look at my pastor and go, man, I want to be like him. But I'm not him. There'll be certain things that I learned from him, and they'll become obvious. Some probably are. But then there's things that God made me, right, to be a certain way, and I have to be who God made me to be. But we find ourselves envying. Look at who they are. How have they gained? Are these people trusting God and God supplying it, or are they worldly people? Because then we're not only envious, we're envious of people that work iniquity, right? People that won't be saved, or people that aren't, right? We all want them to be. I struggled with this with our daughter. She has some really, really great friends in church. Some super knowledgeable, biblical, dedicated Christians, even at a young age. And I'd be like, man, that's so cool. You go hang out with them. She always wanted to hang out with the people that got in trouble. She wanted to hang out with the girls that wore less clothing. There's something within her that desires to be like that, not the person that you could be learning, like the Bible from, right? Growing in your Christian walk. What happens during that? We have to look at those things and really address, what is it that I'm desiring? Is it to be a godly person and to have a relationship with God, or to look like the world? Because the cost of doing that could be eternity. So he says, "Nor be envious of workers of iniquity." Why do we find ourselves, me guilty of it too, right? Chasing after people who aren't even really godly people. And 2, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. David makes it clear here. I've lived a long time. These people will not achieve what you think, right? They may have it temporarily, but it's going to wither. Beauty will fade. It's just the way it works, right? You could look back and go, I don't look anything like I did in high school. If you saw a picture of me, I look totally different. which is actually cool because I see people from school all the time. They don't recognize me, so I don't have to talk to them. I don't really have any desire to talk to them. I really, it's like, oh, are you going to go to your high school reunion? No. I don't know what I would talk about. I mean, I could witness, sure, right? You'd be like, what are you doing? I witness everywhere I go, tell people about church. I work it into every conversation. Corey joked about it. I worked it into the conversation with the bank. The guy's like, hey, tell me a little bit about church. And I was like, okay, I'll tell you about what God's done in my life and how he saved me. That's just what I do. I don't have any desire to go hang out with people and talk about past glory, right? What I did on the football team, what we did. Remember when we did that play? I don't know. I don't remember that. I was by myself at home with my guitar in my hand listening to the heaviest, craziest metal that you could imagine because that's what I was interested in. So to sit there and have conversations about something that doesn't exist for me would be pointless. Why? I don't need to revel in what we missed. Did anybody ever watch Napoleon Dynamite? I so love that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies. Uncle Rico, right? This dude's living like, oh, I'm gonna throw the huge bomb. He's stuck to when he was like 17. That's how we'll get when we stay in that, right? I was Napoleon Dynamite in school. You could probably figure it out. Take it off any sweet jumps. I so love that movie because it's how I see myself. I mean, it's the only other one I see myself more is Phantom of the Opera. Ever seen that? I don't really like opera or anything, and my mom bought us tickets to go see Phantom. I'm like, whatever, it's Phantom of the Opera. It was like 2 seconds in, I started crying, and I didn't stop crying until 3 days later. I'm like, this is the greatest opera of all time. I'm the Phantom. I'm the ugly dude. And I don't have that much musical talent, so, But we look at ourselves and we can align ourselves with people, but it tends to be the people we don't want, right? Napoleon Dynamite's a good kid, genuine, right? It's hard because what we do is we live in the right now. I want this right now. I want to be popular right now. We have no picture of what 40 years will look like from now. I look back at people that were pretty in school. I'll come across on Facebook, you're scrolling through and it's like people you may know. And you're like, oh, I know that name. You click on it, whoa. They have not aged well at all, actually, right? Some of it's drugs. Some of it is drugs and alcohol, years in life of that. It has not produced good fruit. They look like they're going to die, right? Some have died. I've had a lot of people from my class that have died. Drug addiction, stupid accidents, dumb stuff, right? Trying to be cool. And yet those are the people I looked at and went, man, I wish I was more like them. I don't now, right? I go, well, I am who I am. Life for those people who are living the fast life, don't care about God, want the attention. I mean, ladies, when you look at the pretty girl that was in school who was in and out of relationships, sleeping with every guy, is she super awesome and beautiful now? Probably not. She's probably lived a real hard life. And it's usually yes. Nope, I was going to die. A couple weeks ago, my pack died, and then I made a stupid comment because I thought it had died, and then I realized when I was editing later, it was still on. To think about that if it dies. If you listen back, it was a funny comment about the governor. But you look back and you go, their life didn't turn out the way I thought it would. Maybe there's one, right? 1 in a million that turned out great, and they're still awesome, and they're still beautiful, and they're still skinny, he's still ripped, and they're in love. But it's just not how it works. And David's clear in here, for they soon shall be cut down like grass and wither like the green herbs. They're going to wither away to nothing, right? I'll tell you what I've noticed. Who become Christians, God changes them. I look 30, right? No? Jeez. You'd be like, yes, clap. I look 47, whatever. I don't even know how old I am, 48, 47. But there is a certain point where God, as he restores things, you can see it in people. Their light changes in them, right? And God's also, his word is clear, right? But that he renews the mind. I won't go off on it. It'll come up to something else, but the brain is an amazing thing and the things that it can do. but he can give back life. I lived 12 years in California, and it wore on me. And it felt like it was overnight. We moved back here. We've been back here 12 years-ish. And it feels like it's been 30, and not in a bad way. It's like God slowed our whole life down, and we started enjoying the moment. Started doing things for the Lord and working for him, going, hey, man, thankfully that's not our life anymore. That stuff passes away. How? He says it right here in 3. Trust in the Lord and do good. Do good. He gives us an action. Do. It doesn't mean think about doing good. It means do it, right? Go do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. I read that one sometimes and go, really? Because I don't have anything that I've been desiring, Lord. This, to me, you really read it in, not in a verse, but take 3 and 4 together. When you trust in the Lord, I'm not trying to change the word, just give it a different perspective, right? When you trust in the Lord and you do good for the Lord, you dwell in his land and you feed on his faithfulness, you delight yourself in him as you're doing those things, he changes your heart. Your desires become what his desires are, and then he gives you the desires of your heart. Right? My desire is to be a millionaire, still, just to be honest, right? Because then if I have a house project, I can just go buy whatever I need. You know, because I generally have to buy a tool, because we do a project. You got to get a tool every time you do a project. And then I generally break something, so I have to go buy something else to fix whatever it is that I was broken, which generally needs a new tool, to fix that part to make it easier. I put a sink drain on without one of those pipe wrenches that you can reach up in behind the thing. I did it by hand. You cannot get that screw tight enough that it will not leak water with your hand. And I'm this shape, and I'm in a bathroom that's this wide, laying on the floor, up under the sink counter. Like, I need a tool. Wait, there's a wrench for this? I gotta go get that wrench. And then I tightened it so hard it broke the actual bolt on the thing, because they're made out of plastic. So then I gotta go get another thing. But as I do that, I have to think, geez, you know, I was supposed to be a $20 fix. It's cost me now $100 or something, right? That's not, if we're budgeting and we're being smart. We live paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes like paycheck to 4 paychecks from now. You know, like, I don't think we'll eat this week. Why? I broke the lawnmower again. Hit a rock and the blade got lodged, and this time it broke the blade and broke the motor, so I got to order one of those. Well, we can't do it right now. Well, we got to, because the lawn's going to be 7 feet tall, and then I'm going to have even bigger problems. Right? So I go, I want to be a millionaire, Lord, but I swear I'll donate all the money that I don't use. He's like, come on, you're not going to do that. That's not how this works. You know what you're going to do. I'm going to give you exactly what you need. Right? And I go, okay, Lord, I just want to please you. Great, good desire. Do that. Go speak to that person. No, other than that one. Like anything else? Anything else you need me to do? I could drop off something. I just don't want to go talk to them. No, don't go do what I say. Right? So as we do these things and we delight in the Lord and the things that he's doing in our lives, he changes our hearts to align with his, and then he gives those desires. So when you read it, you can't go, well, I have all kinds of desires and he's not filled any of them. Are they godly desires? Are they fleshly desires? Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him. It's trust. Right? Now he's saying it again. Trust in the Lord. What is this? And he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret. Oops, second time, right there. You got 2 for today. Do not fret. Do not worry because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked schemes to pass. Don't you ever get irritated with people? Like, why are they so successful and they're not even godly? How is this happening? Right? That's what he's saying is don't worry about the person who prospers in wickedness. That was loud. That, I hope, is not a kid. Oh, it was Alex. Yeah. It's generally him with those big crashes. Yeah, we'll hear crying in a minute. So, he says, don't sit around worrying all the time about the man who prospers wickedly. Focus on you, right? Focus on what you are doing for God, what God wants you to do in your life. Because first of all, it's not going to give you anything but stress to be worried about what someone else is doing and why they're successful. And we can get stuck in that. Why, if I do this the right way, are they better than me at this and they do it the wrong way? God says, don't worry about that. Worry about you. Stay focused on you and me, right? Our relationship. Rest in me. Wait patiently. He doesn't just say wait, right? It's like wait to me is grueling. And then he says do it patiently. I'm not good at waiting to begin with, let alone patiently, because that's like, it looks like inaction, right? There were times where over the last few years, right, we're in the middle of something, right? And it's like, what are we going to do? I'm waiting. I don't know. What do you mean take action? Nope, I am waiting on the Lord. This is his church. It is his thing. He's going to sort it out. And I'm waiting for him to do it. But people could go, well, you should do something in the meantime. No, I'm trying to wait patiently. It's already hard enough. Trust me, inside I'm gritting my teeth and throwing things and saying, Lord, just fix it now. It'll look to the world like inaction, but it's not. It is a purposeful, strategic thing. Sometimes you'll fast during this patient waiting time. You guys fast? You should. Not the intermittent fasting to lose weight. I tried that. It doesn't work. So I don't eat for like 24 hours straight, and I don't lose weight. I'm not sure what the deal is. Probably it's at hour 25, I eat every single thing in sight. Maybe. But that's not the kind of fasting the Bible's doing, right? You can look and go, well, fasting is biblical. Yeah, it sure it is, right? The Lord said to fast. The point is to starve yourself of something you want. You don't fast from sin. Like, well, I'm going to stop watching pornography and I'm going to fast. No, you shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. Don't do that because it'll rot your brain, it'll rot your soul, it'll rot your marriage, it'll rot your life. And there's legal problems that you can probably run into and physical problems you can run into. That's not what he's talking about, right? I'm going to fast from food because my body is going to want it and I'm going to have to fight that. And in doing that, those moments is when I should go to the Lord in extra prayer, read his word. Anything that I would do, if I'm going to go out to dinner and eat for an hour, spend that hour in prayer and fasting, right? And in reading the word. Substitute that time. This is why Sheena mentioned it. We don't do a lot of church tradition kind of things. I'm not a traditional guy, just not me. I actually kind of prefer to break tradition just to do it, to be irritating. Because if it's not biblical, why are we doing it? Church tradition was Acts 2:42. They continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine, right? The teaching of this word, fellowship, communion, and prayer. And then God instituted a couple of things: baptism and communion, right? Baptism. Should you get when you're born? Should you get baptized so you can wipe away all your original sin? That's what the Catholic Church says. Try not to rail on the church. That's cult. That's cult behavior, right? It just is. It's not biblical. It does not say that when you're born, you have to be touched with water or you can't be buried with your parents if you die as a baby. It's a lie. It's heresy. You have to come to a point where you can understand that you're a sinner and that you need to be saved. And then you say, I'm going to lay down my life for Christ. Lord, what do you want me to do? I want to follow you. How do we follow him? We get baptized. You get baptized because the Lord said get baptized. It's cause for celebration. Don't get me wrong. It is. We did baptisms last year at Corey's pool. It was awesome. I mean, we thought maybe 1 or 2 people would get baptized. I got to baptize like 7 people. I got to baptize his son since we started this prayer meeting. I prayed for him every single time I was at Corey's house. Every time. He'd come and he'd sit. Oh, he started attending church here and there. And then he came out on his shores and was like, can I get baptized? If there wasn't like 50 people there, I would have just wept. Instead, I go underwater and cry and scream because you can't hear me. But we don't do it because we want to impress someone. We do it because the Lord got baptized. He said, John, I want you to baptize me. And John's like, who am I to baptize you? You're the God of the universe. I'm paraphrasing, right? And then he says, no, everyone else is asked to do it. It'd be right for me to do it. So we do it because it's what the Lord did. And we take communion because he said what? When you gather, do this in remembrance of me. We could do this every week. We could do communion every week. It wouldn't bother me. I was at a church where we did it every week. We just picked the first Sunday of the month. Pretty standard. Now that I've said it, now I want to break the tradition just because it's some tradition. So I'm going to do it tonight. We were supposed to do it today. I thought today was communion day, so we prepped songs and practiced and did all that. And I was like, oh, man, we got to go get communion. And Sheena's like, it's not communion. That's next week. Wait, what? Oh, come on. Totally forgot. But the Lord said, as you gather, do this in remembrance of me. I won't do this until we meet again. He wants to commune with us. He wants to break bread, and he wants to drink wine with us, and he'll celebrate when we go to heaven. In the meantime, those are the two things that he instituted. He said, you should fast, you should pray, right? All great things. He did not make a church calendar. The church made that. If you want to celebrate Lent, please do it. You know, if it's for you, then great, right? I want to mimic my life after what the Lord did. He said, do these things. So when we gather, we worship, we pray, we take communion once a month. If I forget, it's not once a month, it's like once every 2. But I want to do things that please God. I want to rest in the Lord. I want to wait patiently. I don't want to worry about the things he says don't worry about. I can lay in bed all night worrying about things to the point where I'm literally just going, I just need to go to sleep. Why can I not shut my brain off? Why does it keep running in circles? Why do the wicked seem to prosper and I can't? Why is a government official who got voted in richer than me? I think of those things, right? I ponder that stuff, but I don't want to worry about it. I want to look to the Lord. Lord, if you are in control of all things and you order all things, I want to wait on you. And I want to do it patiently. I've heard that saying, people say only new Christians or young Christians pray for patience. I've heard people say it before, which I think is ridiculous. The God says to be patient, I should pray to be patient. The problem is that much with the desires of our heart, sometimes those are real painful things that the Lord brings us through, right? There's long seasons of stuff where you're like, hey, look, you prayed for it. Now I'm going to bring you through. If you say, Lord, I want nothing to stand in between you and me, be prepared, because he'll do whatever it takes to rip out all the things that stand before him, right? Likely idols. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Oh, what do we got? Another do not fret. It only causes harm. Why are you angry and bitter? Why get that way? We had this conversation yesterday. We were eating breakfast. And we were talking about how, like, if somebody says something and it makes you angry, it's because they're right. It's not because they're wrong and you just are mad. It's because they're right and you just don't really want to admit to it. It boils something up. You're like, oh, they're right, but I'm not telling them they're right. You've offended me. How could you do that? Maybe it's because they're right. And it just kind of stings. What he says is, don't be angry. Cease from it. Cease from forsake wrath. Don't go take it out on other people, because what? It only causes harm. For evildoers shall be cut off, right? That's the key. If we do these things, there is reward. When you have kids, you don't want your kids to do things for a reward. You start off that way, but you eventually want to work them to do it because it's responsible and because they love you, right? Can you sweep the floor? Because you love me and I need a hand. Instead, you're like, okay, fine. I was going to say, like, I'll give you 50 cents, but that doesn't, inflation. I'll give you $50 if you sweep the floor. You're like, whoa, $50. What can I buy with $50? Yeah, actually, I need $1,500 because I want to buy a new iPhone. Okay, you're going to sweep the floor, but you're going to sweep the floor for the rest of your life. Like when you're 80, you're still coming back to sweep the floor for $1,500. God does things and says we're promised rewards. If we do these things, there is a reward, heaven. And evildoers will be cut off because they're not part of heaven. They may prosper here, but they won't prosper in heaven. He says, but for those who wait on the Lord, they shall what? Inherit the earth. Let's jump to 2 Samuel chapter 11. We are definitely not going to finish this psalm this week, which is fine. Oh, man. I got a new clock. It's going to be in the back of the room at the new building. It's like got bright LEDs, so you can set like a timer if we want to count down for how long to keep me going, or not to run over. But much like the tradition thing, when it hits 0, I'm probably still going to keep going just to. And I bought the clock, believe it or not. So we're going to look back at David's life real quick. We kind of started that when I said in some of the previous Psalms. So at this point, David's king. He's taken place. Saul's gone. But David makes a few mistakes, and we need to really, I think we should understand this. So in chapter 11, verse 1, it says, it happened in the spring of the year, at that time when kings go out to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants to him and all Israel. And they destroyed the people of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem. Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed. He walked along the roof of the king's house. And from that roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. So David sent and inquired about the woman. And someone said, is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers and took her. And she came, and he lay with her, and she was cleansed from her impurity. And she returned to her house. And the woman conceived, so she sent and told David, and said, I am with child. And David sent to Joab, saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah had come to him, David asked how Joab was doing. How are the people doing? How has the war prospered? And David said to Uriah, go down to your house and wash your feet. So Uriah departed in the king's house and made a gift of food for the king, followed him. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all of his servants of his lord, and did not go down to his house. So when they told David, Uriah did not go down to his house, David said to Uriah, did you not yet come from a journey? Why did you not go down to your house? Uriah said to David, the ark and Israel and Judah are dwelling in the tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I go to my house and eat and drink and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, I will not do these things. So we've got this picture, right? David's king. He's been successful. And not because he's good looking or whatever, right? I mean, he's successful because he's trusted the Lord. The Lord said, go do this, go do that, leave this place, go to that place. And he's given him seasons of battle that he's been successful at. David's done something here that he shouldn't have, and it's obvious in the first couple of sentences. It happened in the spring of the year at the time when the kings go out to battle. Right? So there's this season of fighting. They're pretty smart guys. I'm not going to go fight in the middle of a Maine winter. Why do that? We'll just wait until the spring and we'll mount up and then we'll kill each other. Let's not make it any worse on us that we have to, right? But there's a season. And David sent Joab and his servants with him and all of Israel, and they destroyed the people of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. Another success. He says, hey, go. Take the armies. You go and you battle. They find success. But David, this is a but, right? Anytime it says but, it's a conditional statement. If you say, I'm sorry, but you negate the I'm sorry. If you say, you're a good person, but you're not a good person, you're about to get the insult after that, right? God does this a bunch of times in Scripture, right? You are this, you're lost, you're a sinner, but God. That's a good thing because everything he says after that is what God's going to bless with. In this case, it's there's a lot of buts in this. It's weird to say them all, but David remained in Jerusalem. This is a mistake. David has gotten lazy. He's gotten to the point where I believe success has gotten to his head you know what? I don't really need to go with my men. We've had so much success, I'm just going to send my men and they're going to do it. Guys, if your wife hey, I got to go to the mall. Nah, I'll stay here. Go with her to the mall. Because you by yourself, I don't know about you, but you'll just find all kinds of things you're probably wasting time. on, right? I mean, if you're out in the yard working, then great, right? But there is a point where you should remain where you belong. David belonged with his men as a king. And he said, nah, I'm just going to hang out here. Then it happened one evening, right? That's not, when you say, but something happened, then it happened one evening, you are about to venture into territory you don't want to be in. Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed. The other thing is like, I don't buy the it happened thing. It says it, yes. But that's more like, when you're going to sin, you know it, right? You sin in your heart long before you actually commit the sin. You've made a way for whatever this sin is. Whether you're going to like, I'm going to steal that person's phone. I'm going to steal that person's wallet. Whatever, right? Successful robbers don't just do stuff, right? They watch a house. They plan it out. They figure it out so they can see what your patterns are. You don't want to get caught, and you want to have the most time to get everything you need, right? Sin is the same way with us. We think about it in our heart long before we've given in. We go, well, I'm going to be alone next week. I could probably go out. No one will really know. I'm a guy traveling for business, right? I'm in a state. No one's going to know me. I could go out to a strip joint. No one will know. No one knows me around here. But God knows, right? God figures these things out. So when he's walking around, my hunch is he's probably seen her before. It's probably not the first time she's been bathing on a roof. And who bathes on a roof? It's just weird. He walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof, he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. People go, hey, is it okay to look at someone who's beautiful, right? Is it okay to look at a handsome man? Is it okay to look at a beautiful woman? Sure. Nothing wrong with looking at a person. It's lusting that's the problem, right? You can look at a woman and go, wow, she is beautiful. You could look at, I always pull out Chris Hemsworth, right? Because he's Thor, right? Sheena thinks he's handsome, right? She looks at him and goes, well, he's a handsome guy. He's Thor. Look, he's big and muscular. I'd say Vin Diesel too, but not going to apply as well, right? But Vin Diesel, right? All the ladies love him. He's bald and muscular. You realize he's like this tall too, right? It's like he's wicked short. He's like this small dude. Looks big on TV. Pamela Anderson, right? She was the star of the 90s. Blonde, beautiful, running on a beach. She has not aged well, actually. Sheena's watching this show where she's now bought a house and she's gardening and I can tell the voice, and I'm like, that voice sounds familiar. And I come in, and she's like, oh, she's bought her parents' property in Canada, and she's redoing it. It's like a house building kind of show. And I was like, oh, Pamela Anderson. When's Pamela Anderson coming on? Well, that's her. I gotta go. Wow, time has not been kind. She's a beautiful woman, right? What I'm thinking, though, is Pamela Anderson running on a beach. I'm not going, God created her, she's beautiful. I'm going, is she still hot? No, she is not. As David's looking here, you can look at somebody, but I generally say, like, get the guys at CRD, they'll go, well, how long can I look at a woman before I start lusting? Oh, the question in itself means don't look at anyone. Okay, that's the answer. But how long is too long? When you look back, right? If you look at someone and go, she's beautiful, and then look back again, probably too long. If you're trying to narrow down a time frame, 1.5 seconds is too long. I don't really know. What you're asking is, how long can I walk this line without sin? That's not even the right question. What should you be doing? What should David be doing? He should be with his men. He's already gone on too long. So he inquires about who she is. And someone said, oh, is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Right there, you should go, oh, got to get my mind straight. Do not do that again. And look, Bathsheba is not innocent here. She's not innocent. David, though, is the king. He has a responsibility as the king. He sent messengers, and they took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her, and for she was cleansed from her impurity. Right? What's that mean? She is able to bear children now. She is not at a time where she's infertile for the month. Right? This is a bad thing. She returned to her house, and the woman conceived, so she sent and told David and said, I am with child. So he is now in trouble. He is lusted after another man's wife. Not just another man, one of his best men, one of his best friends. And now she's pregnant. Now there is evidence. Today, what would we do? Just take care of the problem. It'll be fine. Right? Oh, these glasses. They slide off my face. So every time I look down, I look back up, I'm like, so annoying. Right? That's what she would do today. Be like, it's a problem, just take care of it. No, that's not a problem. The problem was what you did. The result was the obvious result when you got into bed together. So David's like, what am I going to do? Okay, what am I going to do? I got to get out of this. I got to fix this. So he sent to Joab saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And Uriah had come to him. David asked how Joab was doing. What kind of conversation is this, right? Hey, dude, how's it going? What's going on? How's things? I slept with your wife. No big deal. She's pregnant. Go home. Right? It's like how's the war prospered? You're the king. You know this stuff. What are we doing here? He said to Uriah, hey, go down to your house, wash your feet, chill, take some time off. Uriah departed from the king's house, and a gift of food from the king followed him. Oh, may bless you, go home, right? Hang out. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord and did not go down to his house. This is a real man. I won't go sleep with my wife. I will not go home. I am the king's servant. I will stand firm on what I do. I will stay with you. David's plan was, go home, sleep with your wife. Well, then she's pregnant. Now it's your kid. Done. We're out of this. It's going to be great. So he didn't. And David's like, hey, dude, you just came from a journey. Don't you want to go, be at your house? This is like, hey, dude, don't you want to go home? Do a Bible study with your wife? Right? You've been gone a long time. Uriah says to David, the ark and Israel and Judah are dwelling in tents, and my lord Joab and servants from the Lord are encamped in open fields. These men are risking their lives. Why would I go home? Shall I go to my house and eat and drink and lie with my wife? As you live and your soul lives, I will not do this thing. That had to be convicting. If I was David, I'd be mad, angry like we were just talking about, right? Because he's right. You shouldn't. And he's trying to figure out this plan. Where's the Lord in all of this? We haven't heard mention of him at all. He didn't even petition the Lord according to Scripture, right? He's running on his own logic. In 12, then David said to Uriah, wait here today also, and tomorrow I will let you depart. So Uriah remained in Jerusalem the day and the next. Now when David called him, he ate and drank before him, and he made him drunk. God, really? He's getting his friend drunk now to take advantage. Those kids are definitely done. And at evening he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his Lord, but did not go to his house. We'll stop there, because we've got much to cover before we're out of Psalm 37. We're probably going to hit the Hall of Faith and talk about the men and women in there. But here we are, as we've read Psalm 37, the first, 12, 13 verses. David's exhortation to us as an old man is, follow the Lord. Don't follow the path of evildoers. Don't be envious of them. This comes from experience, right? He's not a guy that just is coming up with this. We can often read Proverbs and go, whatever, that old language, that old school stuff, that doesn't apply today. Our attitude is wrong when we go to the Bible to begin with, right? We try to read it and go, well, I just need an answer for this problem right now. The answer for your problem right now is Jesus Christ. But in order to understand the whole wealth of information in history, we have to look back and go, where was this person? This is not just a made-up story, right? This is history. We're reading experience from David. We'll continue to read next week, and hopefully we'll get through this part of the story. It's probably good, because I'm going to start crying probably pretty quick, because this story is, again, it is one of the hardest stories. This changed my life, because this could be me. I could be that guy. I travel for business at times, right? No. You could just go to a strip club. I could just watch a movie online. First time I traveled with business away from her while I was a Christian, I asked him to remove the TV out of the room. I mean, I'm on business, so I probably won't buy anything, but I could linger through TV shows, right? I'm by myself. Like, just take the TV out of the room, please. Now, when I go in, if they won't take it out, I'll randomly put in a password so I can't even turn the TV on. I don't want to be like David, but I am capable of doing this just like every one of us. We are all capable. Is it likely? Maybe not. But the fact is we're capable, which means the enemy knows we can. And he's going to fight tooth and nail to push us in those directions.
Thank you for joining us today. We pray this teaching has been a blessing to you. If you have any questions or would like to request prayer, you can visit us online at www.cccorinth.org. If you're local, come join us for a service at 125 School Road in Charleston, Maine. We want to remind you that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God. Remain armored up, and until next time, grace and peace.
You're with us.